Does your Saab have a key that looks like this? Does your key need a new battery? Is it looking a bit sorry for itself? Maybe needs a new case? Either of these eventualities require that you must be able to re-synchronize the key with the car. So stay tuned and let me show you how. A word of caution: do not launch straight into taking the remote control apart until you've completed these 3 preparation steps. Step 1, leave the car unlocked while you're working on it. Step 2, make sure you've got the manual key that fits the door lock on the left hand side of the car. Usually that's fitted into the remote control, and you press the Saab symbol and pull the key out of the top. And thirdly, try the manual key in the lock in the door and make sure that it turns the lock both ways. If it doesn't, then you need to replace the key and possibly the barrel. Second-hand barrel and key might do the job, but do not proceed any further unless the key will operate that lock. You have been warned. Whether you're only replacing the battery or whether you're replacing the case, you will need to split the case in half. To do that, if you look at the half moon shaped side of the case that you've just exposed by removing the key, you'll see that there's a small slot next to the key slot. Now the best tool for doing this is a 5 or 6 millimeter flat screwdriver, but it also just so happens that there's a little flat on the end of the key. So put your screwdriver or the key into that slot, hold the key at the other end and twist the key or screwdriver to separate the 2 halves. Once open, you'll see that the board is in the buttons half and the battery is in the key half. So if you're only replacing the battery, simply lift the battery out and replace it with a new one. Now I'd suggest that that you be very careful with handling these. Either wear gloves or use a handkerchief or a tissue, because if you get oils off your fingers into the little gap in the battery there between the 2 poles, that can actually cause the battery to discharge, in a similar fashion to dirt on the top of your car battery, like I showed in that video a few weeks ago. So if you're only replacing the battery, put the battery back in and then just simply snap the 2 halves back together and put your key back in. If your case is looking very sorry for itself and you would like to replace just the case alone, keeping your remote board, which of course is programmed to the car, then as far as I know you cannot buy just the case from Saab. You can only buy a complete remote with keys, and they're somewhere in the region of 50 to 80 pounds. But I've found what I think is a very good quality aftermarket case with new key blade. Now in the past I have bought these cheap plastic cases that are all the same material, all plastic, including the buttons with a printed button logo on them, and quite frankly they're a load of rubbish. They're not waterproof and the buttons are very, very difficult to press. But this new case that I found, it looks to me like it's an almost exact replica of the original equipment case. It's made of the same materials. It's a PA6, which is a nylon glass filled with 40% glass for the case, and the buttons are co-molded TPE, exactly the same as it is on the original key. If you look at the 2 side by side, you can see that there's virtually no difference between them. But I have to say, looking very closely at it, I'm very impressed with the quality of the moulding and even the coal moulding. It's very, very good. So I have high hopes for it lasting very, very well. There are 2 types of key blade, so you do have to make sure you get the right key blade, and this case is available with both. And in fact the supplier of this case, if you send them a photograph, a good quality photograph of your original key blade, they will cut the new key blade for you before they send it to you. If you are going to change the case, you need to take the board out of the button side of the case. Now for that you will need a small blade, a small screwdriver at the end of a knife, but again the sort of screwdriver type end of the key blade will also do the job. Lift it up at the thin end first, just lift it out of the case, then pull it forwards and lift it out like so. Now I do suggest that whilst you've got this out, that you give the board a little bit of a clean. Use some good quality contact cleaner. This is WD-40 fast drying contact cleaner. It's very important that you choose a contact cleaner that says on the can that it leaves no residue. Not all contact cleaners leave no residue. Some electrical contact cleaners have oils in them, lubricant oils, and corrosion inhibitors which stay behind on the switch contacts after use. I'm going to spray a little bit on a cotton bud and very carefully wipe the electrical contacts on the battery side. At this end there's two little tags which clip the board into place each side here. Place the board gently in and snap it down in place at the back end where the clips are, and also make sure that the front end is pushed down into place. Now get your new battery out of its packet. The solid side of the battery is marked as plus, the positive side, so place that into the battery side of the case, pushing it into place, and now clip the two halves together. And of course you can place your key blade back in. Don't just push it in, but I would recommend that you push down on the badge portion, push it into place, and there you go. One nice new refurbished key, every bit as good as the original in my opinion. I'll put a link to this case down in the description in case you want to go and buy one and perform this operation yourself. Battery wise, I would venture to suggest that you use a good quality battery. I personally favour Duracells. I'm assured by the electrical guys at work that they are pretty much the best batteries. Now we need to go back outside to the car, and we need our cut key with us as well. Back out at the car, the owner's manual states that when you change the battery in the remote loses its synchronisation to the car, and having changed the battery we now need to resynchronize to the car. So to do that, if your car is still locked, if in the preparation stages you weren't able to leave it unlocked, this is where you will need your key. Remove your lock cap if you've got one, and with your mechanical key unlock this door. We now need to open the door. Now if your car was locked and you've just unlocked it with the mechanical key, when you open the door the alarm will go off. But if you were able to leave your car unlocked in the earlier preparation stage, then the alarm will not go off. Open the door, climb on board, key in hand, place the key into the ignition and turn the ignition to the on position. When you turn the ignition to the on position, the key will resynchronize to the car and you will be able to start it. Turn off, remove the key in the usual fashion, close all the doors, and now the remote works again. By the way, here's a tip. You probably already know that when the door is open or only on its secondary latch, the car believes the door to be open, doesn't register it as being closed. The car only registers the door being closed when it's actually shut properly on its primary latch. Did you also know that when the car door is registered as open, the car will not lock? It doesn't even lock the other 3 doors that are shut. It just doesn't lock at all. I'm absolutely convinced from forums that I've been following that there are a lot of people who've thought that their key fobs are faulty when they've been trying to lock their cars, probably because they've left their driver's door accidentally open. Or possibly, of course, they've actually got a fault with the latch that's in the door, because of course the switching for the door open signal is done in the latch. But it's just something to bear in mind, that if your car won't lock, check your driver's door. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time.